Forget about 2025 for a second and understand that Kenny Dillingham is laying the foundation for a dynasty beyond this upcoming season.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Richie Bradshaw, and I will be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. Shout out to my everydayers who are here every day, and thanks to all of you for making us your first listen of the day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege, and get $20 off your first purchase. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back in to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast. We got a fun show today as we project the future. The quarterback position, I think they've got it set for the next handful of years. They're looking good at skill positions, the offensive line looking deep as well, and then the defense. Secondary looking pretty good. There's some depth on the defensive line as well. That's all coming up on the show. We got to talk about these quarterbacks, and we got to talk about how that is undeniably laying the foundation for this Sun Devils team. Now, keep in mind that Sam Leavitt could be here for 3 more seasons. Redshirt sophomore, so he's got 2025, 26, and 27 at the absolute most, pending some other kind of crazy eligibility that comes up because it's modern college football, and that could always happen. But they've got Sam Leavitt for at least the next 3 years. But if Sam Leavitt has another season like he just did and gets better the way that we talked about earlier this week, if you missed that episode, definitely check it out. Make sure your notification's on so you don't miss those episodes. It feels like he could declare right after next year and go and be a first-round pick in the 2026 NFL draft. It's right there for him. He is that talented. He has shown off that kind of skill set in such a short amount of time here in Tempe. Like, the second half of this year was historic for the Sun Devils to be able to lead ASU to a Big 12 title, their first ever championship game win. Their other championships they've won in the WAC and in the Pac-10, that's right, not Pac-12, were before they had championship games. It was just outright for regular season. This was their first championship game they appeared in that they won. They also went to the college football playoff. They looked pretty decent, and a lot of it is because of Sam Leavitt. So he could be here for 3 more years. But if he's not, let's go ahead and say, hypothetically, he has a dynamic 2025 season. He's better than what he was this year. He does live up to his Heisman potential, and ASU repeats as Big 12 champions, and we'll even say they win 1 college football playoff game. Yeah, Sam Leavitt might leave early. Very well could. Would not be a surprise. Here's the good news. ASU is set at quarterback for the next several years. The conversation starts with Jake Fette, who is going to be part of the 2026 recruiting class. Consensus 4-star from, is it San Antonio, Texas? That sounds right. He is special. He's coming off this magnificent season as a junior. He's only going to get better as a senior. I have pondered whether or not he can do enough to promote himself to a 5-star. I have gotten pushback from people for the reasons of like, oh, they wouldn't do that because he's Arizona State. Well, if he's that good, he's that good. But, neither here nor there. Either way, Kenny and Marcus Arroyo were recruiting 4-star quarterbacks like it's going out of style. 4-star, top 10 quarterback in next year, top 20 Texas recruit. That's pretty good, getting a top 20 recruit out of the state of Texas. He feels like the future of the position. But let's not forget about the guys that are currently on this roster, too. Cam Dyer is coming in. Unfortunately, he will miss this upcoming season because of surgery. It's kind of similar to what happened to Jaden Fortier last year. It's not like he had the season-ending injury. It's more of just like a cleanup surgery, but it's one of those where you're going to need time to make sure that it heals properly so that you're set for the future. He's more than likely going to redshirt. Now, there's been a quote-unquote argument between Kenny Dillingham and wide receivers coach Hines Ward as to what position he will play, because Ward is the one who recruited him. They want to make him a receiver. And Kenny's like, no, he's a quarterback for us. you're winning no matter what, because either you get another 4-star quarterback in the room or you get this big, lanky kid that has so much athleticism and potential that with working with Hines Ward, he could become something special. If anybody knows about going from quarterback to receiver at the collegiate level and then to the pros, it's Hines Ward, who did that himself at Georgia. Cam Dyer, super exciting. They're also bringing in Michael Tollefson, who once upon a time was a 4-star recruit, but his senior year was just all over the place. He was ruled ineligible in his high school in California. He moves to Arizona knowing that he's going to be going to Arizona State for his collegiate career. And then, God, I can't remember where he ended up going to high school. God, I don't know. I'd have to talk to one of my buddies about that. But he is only able to get onto the field about halfway through the year and struggles. And it's like, yo, what a concept. He's going to struggle with a team that he's completely unfamiliar with and jumps in the middle of the season. So, yeah, his stock plummeted. I don't think that's indicative of the talent. It's not like it just suddenly disappeared for Tollefson. I think he's going to be fine, and I think that he's going to be one of the biggest competitors in this quarterback room. When Sam Leavitt inevitably leaves, and again, in this scenario, we're saying that he is gone in 2026. He's going to be competing with Cam Dyer, who will also be a redshirt freshman, and Jake Fette, who is a redshirt freshman. And guess what? There's a chance that none of those three are going to see significant time on the football field. Obviously, Fette will not see any collegiate time since he is a senior in high school, but Cam Dyer expected to miss the year. Tollefson might be quarterback 3 at best going into this upcoming year with Leavitt and Jeff Sims. And there's a quarterback I'm going to talk about in a second that I don't want you to forget about. There's a lot here at the quarterback position that is going to set up ASU for years to come. Fette will have 4 years, potentially 5, if he has to redshirt. Cam Dyer will have 4 years. Michael Tollefson will have 4 years. And then you have Navi Bruzon. You cannot forget about Navi Bruzon, the most accomplished quarterback in the history of Arizona high school football. 2-time Gatorade Player of the Year, state champion with Liberty. He is the face of Activate the Valley. I said that from the moment he committed, and I'm going to stick firm with that. He is a redshirt freshman. He is back. He is going to remain a competitive young player. He's got a lot that's going against him because of size and stuff like that, but the kid has heart, and he's not going to let the guys ahead of him push him down. He's going to keep continuing to fight. So you've got 4 guys in the room that are going to have a lot of time to compete with each other and are all going to have an opportunity to take over the starting role in 2026. And obviously don't rule out a transfer or anything like that. But I'm telling you right now, the foundation here at quarterback, pretty darn good. 4-star, 4-star, 4-star. And then the most accomplished quarterback in Arizona high school history. Now, here's a rumor for you before we move on. In the 2027 class, quarterback Sione Cajo, if I mispronounce that, I do apologize. He is a supposed 4-star. That's what's in his Twitter profile. I have not been able to find any places, 24/7 or Rivals, that have a current, updated ranking for him. I'm going to roll with 4-star until further notice. He was offered this week by Marcus Arroyo, and I'm already seeing some smoke for him to go to Arizona State. So you would potentially have another 4-star quarterback for the 2027 class. If that happens, you would have in every single year that Kenny Dillingham has been here, a 4-star quarterback or a former 4-star quarterback coming in. First year, 2023, Jaden Rashada. 2024, Sam Leavitt transfers in. I know that's kind of cheating, but I'm going to include him. Former 4-star quarterback. This year, Cam Dyer, 4-star quarterback. Tollefson was a 4-star quarterback. Next year, Jake Fette. The year after that could be Cajo. You are recruiting quarterbacks like it's going out of style. Kenny Dillingham and Marcus Arroyo, they know what they're doing. And this sets you up for so much continual success because no position is more important than quarterback. The good news, they are going to be surrounding them with some really good players, protectors, pass catchers, running backs, and more. That's coming up next. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Let me talk to you about our friends over at Game Time. Attending NFL playoff games is an experience like no other. The energy, the excitement, the connection with other fans is unmatched. And I remember the thrill of seeing my Baltimore Ravens clinch a playoff game before. I, unfortunately, have not been able to go to it. You know what I did go to? Arizona State's first playoff game. You know how I got some cheap deals? I used Game Time because Game Time has a feature called Game Time Picks, and it filters out the fluff, and it shows you the best deals on great seats, and you can focus on what matters most, and that's being there. I use Game Time Picks. I got the good tickets for that Sun Devils game, and I know that I could use it for the Ravens. I could use it for the Diamondbacks. I can use it for any sport. I can also use it for comedy events, theater events, concerts, all sorts of good stuff, because I use that for an upcoming comedy event for myself. They got everything for you. You can take a look at your seats before you get there so you know what to expect before you buy. Oh, speaking of before you buy, the all-in pricing feature shows you the total up front. You don't have to worry about those surprise fees that come at the checkout. I know exactly what I'm paying for before I pay for it. Knowing my tickets are backed with the Game Time guarantee also gives me complete peace of mind, because I know that if I find tickets in the same section and row for less on anywhere else, Game Time will credit me 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's Locked On College for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. You guys are the best, as always, for tuning in to make Locked On Sun Devils your first listen of the day. A shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. Guys, it's not just the quarterback position. They are setting up these quarterbacks to succeed. Running back, tight end, and the offensive line are looking really good. Obviously, wide receiver, as long as Hines Ward is there, they're going to continue to recruiting those guys as well. But man, running back, tight end, offensive line, those have my complete undivided attention. Let's start with the offensive line. Or, excuse me. You know what? Yeah, we can start with the offensive line. Why not? I already said it. They have quite a few young guys on this team. They have one redshirt sophomore in Sean Na'a. The team loves him. They love him. He has taken on a leadership role in the weight room. He is a great young individual. He's very smart. He takes care of his athletics and academics and all that good stuff. He is still here. This is the same kid who was forced into the starting lineup when Isaiah Glass quit on the team in 2023. He was forced to play against Utah at a position he wasn't familiar with. He was recruited as an offensive guard. They had to throw him out to left tackle. He's still here, and he's still grinding and working. And there is going to be an opportunity for him to find a field very, very soon. Yeah, we have 4 veterans that are returning for this team, but center is open. He is familiar playing inside. Injuries happen. He could be ready to go for any of the 4 positions that are locked down by veterans, and he could be your 6th offensive lineman. Don't forget about him. There are some redshirt freshmen here. Champ Westbrooks, Terrell Kim, Samisi Tonga. Westbrooks, he's planning to move to offensive tackle. He's got inside experience. Terrell Kim, Samisi Tonga are guards as well. They have a big, literally and figuratively, big recruiting class coming in. All these guys are 3 stars. A handful of them, I may butcher their names. I apologize in advance. They are all 3 stars. There are 4 offensive tackles, 2 interior guys. The interior guys are Makai Stewart and Matei Jefferson. You have 4 tackles that are coming in. Manamo Ui Matu Moody. Again, I apologize for butchering these names. Deshaun Bryant, Rob Puaho, and Alema, maybe, Iosua. If the family is listening to this show, again, I apologize. Please let me know how to pronounce it in the comments, and I will make sure I do that moving forward. They've also got a 2026 commit already with Cordavius Tasabi. You got Coach Saga just absolutely recruiting his you-know-what off right now and getting the offensive line to a point where they're going to contend. There was a point in time where ASU was struggling to recruit offensive tackles, and they were just bringing in interior linemen and having them move outside. 4 tackles coming into this class, 4 guys that look ready to go, by the way. Like, any of these guys look like you could plug them in and start right away based on physicality alone. But again, with the 4 veterans returning, there's a chance for these young guys to just get developed behind Josh Atkins, Maxie Onaker, Kyle Scott, and Ben Coleman. And they are all going to be gone next year. They're out of eligibility. That's where the young guys come in. And again, the whole point of this is we're focusing on 2026 and beyond. The young guys are there as they continue to develop them. There's a lot of youth here on the offensive line. Let's talk about the running back position, which is where I wanted to start the conversation, but I got very excited about the offensive line. 4-star Jason Brown, redshirted this past season. He only appeared in 1 game against Wyoming, first game of the year. He's back. That's the future of this backfield. Until further notice, Jason Brown's the future of this backfield. He could be some kind of Eno Benjamin level player for you as that short, stocky guy who can catch the football. We'll see how he looks in spring ball and in training camp. I would not be surprised if he was able to carve out a bigger role this year. Scattaboo is gone. Cam Scattaboo, the people's running back, is gone. Carlos Brooks is gone. You bring in Kanye Udo. You have Kyson Brown. You have Raleek Brown. But otherwise, there's a chance for Jason Brown to usurp any of those guys. Now, for what it's worth, you will have Kanye Udo and Kyson Brown for at least 2 more years. I believe Raleek Brown has 2 more years. He may have 3 more years. So they're part of the future as well. But Jason Brown, with 4 more years of eligibility, he feels like the future. They're bringing in Demarius Man Robinson. Keep an eye on him as this little dude who knows how to find the end zone. There may be an opportunity for him to be your starting returner this year. Keep an eye out on him. 2026, they got to commit already with Keelan Chavez out of Texas. He's a high choice for them, not a commit. Keep an eye on him. There's a chance that they may be able to pull him in for the 2026 class. By the way, they already have 4 commits for next year, and they're recruiting out of their minds right now. Keep an eye out on him. Tight end. What Jason Mohns is doing at the tight end position is unbelievable. He is outside of quarterback, and maybe even more than quarterback. I think ASU is recruiting tight end better than any other position. And it's Jason Mohns who is at the forefront of it. 4-star Jaden Fortier. He had the miss last year due to an ACL surgery. He is back. He will obviously have 4 years of eligibility. 4-star kid. I think that he could easily lead the group in receiving yards. I look at Jaden Fortier as the best receiver at the tight end position right now. We'll see with Shema Mateer back. And Mateer is definitely a big-time end zone guy and someone who, again, would not surprise me if he led the team in touchdowns, but he is a senior. He'll be gone next year. Fortier, you have 4 years out of him. He could be here a long time. Incoming 4-star AJ Ia, another guy who will factor in this year. I very much think that he will find a way onto the field, and he's also going to be a part of your future. Another 4-star, 2026, they have a guy that is also got ASU as a high choice. It's another 4-star, Israel Briggs. Keep an eye out on him. I would not be surprised, given the track record that ASU is currently having at the tight end spot, if Jason Mohns was able to get this guy to come to Tempe. They are recruiting tight end as well as any other position on this team. And I might argue it's the position that ASU is recruiting, which is funny because if you go back to the 2000s, the Todd Heap and the Zach Miller tight ends that they were bringing in, over the last 10 to 15 years, it does not feel like ASU has had this super elite tight end play. They've had a handful of guys come in, but man, it feels like the future of this offense could run through the tight end position. Let's talk about the defense, though. And the way that I see the defense is this secondary is nasty, but they're bringing in some young defensive linemen as well. That's coming up next. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Again, you guys are the best for tuning in to make Locked On Sun Devils your first listen of the day. And a shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. This defense, do not sleep on them. Starting with the front, the defensive line. Now, is there as many numbers here as some of the other positions? No. And when we talk about the secondary, you're going to be blown away by how many guys are back there. But the way that I look at this D line is there are super high upside kids. There are very good football players. Again, for what it's worth, CJ Fite, who has been a starter since his freshman year, is going into his true junior season. He has at least 2 more years, could have 3, depending on, however a red shirt may work out for him or if he can be a graduate player. I don't know. I don't pretend to know at this point. He's got 2 more years of eligibility. That much I do know. And I think there's a chance that he could stay here for 4 years. But again, if he blows up this year and he gets that call and it's like, hey, you're a top 50 pick, that's hard to turn down sometimes. We'll wait and see. They have no redshirt sophomores. They only had, I think, 2 guys in that 2023 class. They're all gone at this point. There are 2 redshirt freshmen that are returning, Ramar Williams and Celesi Manu. Ramar is interesting to me. He had to put a lot of weight on. He was very much an undersized guy. His red shirt was very much necessary for him to get up to the weight and prepare to play at a higher level. Celesi Manu, he's another guy. I'm not sure where they're going to put him. He could be an edge. They could kick him inside. There's just a lot of depth at the position right now, so I don't know what that looks like. Speaking of right now, at the edge rusher spot particularly, it's going to be brand new next year because Elijah O'Neal, Clayton Smith, and Prince Dorba are entering their final years of eligibility. As far as I know, edge rusher is going to be wide open. Interior of the defensive line, you're going to be losing. You know what? I think Zach Swanson might be a redshirt sophomore. You might have 2 years out of him. But CJ Fite could declare he has 2 years. Jacob Rich-Kongaika is gone after this year. There are openings here for the interior. Deshaun Morgan coming in as a 3-star. He will be able to compete moving forward. Here's a guy, sorry to be Chris Collinsworth there. Here's a guy to keep your eye out on. Michael, I think it's Michael Gardner, a former 4-star from Liberty High School. He is a redshirt freshman. He has had 2 red shirts, one of them for injury, one of them that's just your typical redshirt during his time at Oregon. He has 4 years of eligibility. This kid is unbelievably talented. So if he is healthy, do not be surprised if he finds the field a lot this year. ASU really loved to rotate their defensive tackles this past year. You saw 4 guys, Fite, Swanson, Kongaika, and then Jeff Clark, who ran out of eligibility. Those 4 saw the field consistently. Clark is gone. The other 3 are back. Gardner could be that 4th guy, and I would not be surprised, but he's also someone who could be a key component of the future for the position. The secondary, and this is where we're going to wrap up the show. Oh my goodness. Defensive backs coach Bryan Carrington is insane with the way that he's bringing these guys in. He has 1 redshirt sophomore returning, Montana Warren. You guys are all familiar with him if you tune in to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast. This has been a Montana Warren fan account since his true freshman year. Now, he will be going in as a redshirt sophomore. He missed his freshman year due to a leg injury. He appeared sparingly this past year, particularly on special teams. He blocked the punt that was returned by true freshman. Was it Kyan McDonald? God, I can't remember. I think it was Kyan McDonald, but he blocked that punt this year against UCF that was returned for a touchdown. There is a chance that Montana is going to find his way onto the field as a starter. Against Texas in the college football playoff game, he took over Shamari Simmons' spot to be the starting nickel corner for the first half, because remember, Shamari had to sit out the first half for the worst targeting call I've ever seen in my life. Not exactly true. I've seen a lot, but that was a pretty bad one that was called against him against Iowa State. Montana Warren got out there. His first drive, he got beat pretty bad on a touchdown reception. After that, I thought he settled down really well and definitely showed that ability to be a good football player. But he's got 3 more years of eligibility as a redshirt sophomore. There's a chance he's a starter this year. Keep an eye out on him. Redshirt freshman. There are 6 guys who are returning for this upcoming season that are all redshirt freshmen. And they are guys that I could see get on the field this year and could potentially be starters in 2026. I do want to mention real quick that Javen Robinson and Keith Abney, current starters at corner this year, 1A, 1B, they are juniors. They have 1 more year of eligibility. Javen is a redshirt. Keith Abney is a true junior. So they could be here for 2026. But these are the guys, again, like I've said throughout the show, that are the foundational building pieces moving forward. So the guys, the 6 guys that are back, Rodney Bimage, Tony Lewis and Cuba, Chris Johnson Jr., Plas Johnson, Nico Clem, and Kyan McDonald. That's a lot of guys who could be starting corners or guys who could be moving around to safety. Chris Johnson Jr., super interested in him to potentially transition from corner to safety. Kyan McDonald is ready to be a safety. Nico Clem, we'll keep an eye out on him. Ronnie Bimage, Tony Lewis and Cuba. Those guys balled out during spring ball last year and during training camp. I was surprised we did not see them as much as true freshmen. I do not think that will be the case this upcoming year. They are too talented to keep off of the football field. And ASU was very insistent on keeping Keith Abney and Javen Robinson out there for a significant amount of snaps. I just do not see any way that you can keep Bimage and Lewis and Cuba, just those 2, let alone the other guys. I don't see any situation where you can justify keeping them off of the field. Guys who are coming in as well. There's 3 more guys coming in as true freshmen. All 3 stars. We got Benjamin Alifiao. Again, if you're listening, family member, or anyone that just knows how to pronounce it, please let me know. Xavier Scarown and Joseph Smith. It's just more bodies, man. And then you already have a commit for 2026 with Zeth Theus. Liberty High School, by the way, another local kid. They are so deep in the secondary. So deep. And again, Abney and Robinson could be back for at least 1 more year. But some of the guys that are helping this year, like Kendrick Breedlove and Nylan Green, those are 1-year guys to help patchwork, replacing veterans like Shamari Simmons and LT Welsh. The future is here with the countless number of guys. And there are players that could start this year. Montana Warren, absolutely someone I wouldn't be surprised in the least bit if he found his way into the starting lineup this year as that third safety, that nickel defender for the team. He makes a lot of sense to take over the Shamari Simmons role. Do not be surprised if you see him out there. Don't be surprised if they start rotating corners a little bit more this year. And yes, I know there's 4 guys, Robinson, Abney, Breedlove, and Green. That's not going to hold these guys back from finding the field if they continue improving from where they were. And again, Bimage and Lewis and Cuba specifically. Rodney Bimage, Tony Lewis and Cuba. Keep those names in your head. Keep them in the back of your mind wherever. But do not be surprised if down the road we are talking about them even more on Locked On Sun Devils. And don't be surprised if other people from different sources are going to be talking about them as well. I promise you, these kids, they're special, man. They could easily be the future of the position. It's a lot that Kenny Dillingham and his coaching staff are laying down. By the way, coaching staff's all back. All of them. All the guys I just mentioned, guys that I didn't mention as well. They're all back. Both your coordinators are back. The coordinators are locked up for 3 more years. Kenny Dillingham's got an extension. They have got this coaching staff in place. And as long as they're in place, with the way that they're recruiting, things are only going to get better. And I know that there's a lot of naysayers and doubters out there. Oh, it's only 3 stars. It's not all about the star rating. It's not. 5 stars are cool. I would love to get 5 stars. First of all, they're coming. I have already promised you. I promised you when Kenny Dillingham was hired in December of 2022, before he even got to campus, that 5 stars were coming for this team. They have been recruiting 4 stars on an annual basis. 5 stars are coming. But you know what? In the meantime, they're bringing in kids that just know how to play football. They're high character. They are high quality guys. How many of these 3-star kids have found roles on this team? Quite a few. And the transfers have been able to help these guys develop behind the scenes. 2026 and even this year, 2025, you're going to start seeing these recruiting classes see the field. And I have a really good feeling that they're going to make all of the fans very happy with their potential. Which of these positions are you most excited about? Of the quarterbacks I mentioned, including Jake Fette, who do you think is the future of this program when Sam Leavitt inevitably leaves? Let me know in the comments. You can hit me up on Twitter as well. Find me at RichieBrads36 or the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. Wherever you're getting your shows, hit like, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications. You'll get an update whenever we post new content. Thanks to each and every single one of you for tuning in to make us your first listen of the day, and a shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. We will be back tomorrow for a YouTube live. So first of all, if you are not subscribed on YouTube and don't have the notifications on, definitely fix that. We will be live later in the evening to discuss the ASU versus U of A basketball game. Hopefully it goes well. If it doesn't go well, we're going to have some very serious conversations. But I hope to see you guys tomorrow night around 5:00 p.m. I will make sure to update the YouTube page and the Twitter account if that time changes. We'll shoot for 5 p.m. We'll talk about the game, and I'll see you there. Till then, you keep it locked right here on Locked On Sun Devils.